Next, we have Harlan. He's a Vietnam draft dodger. He's going to come up and talk about his experiences. So I'll give him a warm welcome.
Hello, thank you. Welcome. I don't really deserve the accolades of being a war resister per se, because I might have been, but it's by sheer accident that I was exempted from the draft, because my dad had my same initials and my mother sent my pre-induction physical notice to the back to the post office, because my dad had deceased and he had practically the same initials as I did, and I never heard from him since. However, so that's my level of war resistance at that time. But I do have a couple experiences I'd like to relate back to you in those early days, prior to the assassination of Bobby Kennedy and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. My first experience that I recall was where about 35 to 4,000 students were gathered down on the road. And it was my first exposure to what the appearance of helmeted police armed with billy clubs, tear gas, pistols, and shields mounted together, ready to break through the line. And we were blockading the road, protesting the war. That was a fearsome sight. And I think probably one of the messages that I think that we need to have and think about and prepare for is that we've got to prepare for what I would say is the consequences. To be prepared to take the consequences for our values and our beliefs. And that doesn't happen just right now to a lot of us, especially to me. I have to prepare my mind. I have to become convicted that life, this is what I have to do in order to carry through in facing that fear, because despite my words as angry and as boisterous and bold as a lion, I myself ran like a mouse when I heard the cannons go off. And that was a very fearsome sight. And there I remember looking back in the stalwarts, the heroes. They were telling the crowd that was massed, that was moving in mass away from the line, hold, stand, hold, stand tight. And they got trampled on. But I looked back at their anguish in their faces, and it struck me ever since that it did serve its purpose. Their sacrifice held true for me. And I hope in the next time, and I know there's a lot of things that are happening, particularly I think there can be some civil action that's going to happen pretty soon in regard to the oil sands development as how it's affecting the health of First Nations people. That is, I'm on the council of the Athabasca Keepers of the Water Alliance. And we went on tour this summer to about 12 different communities that on the water basin, and we ended up our tour in Fort Chipewyan. Fresh graves have been dug. In fact, one elder died during our gathering. But take hope. There's a coalition. This is a true coalition. And I think it's a coalition that everybody's got to plug into, because it's a coalition, a true, genuine coalition of First and non-Aboriginal people working for the same end. Because after all, we have absolutely no legitimacy to be here except through one thing, and that's the treaty. And I think that, at least I've been thinking very seriously about this, and our government is by the provisions of the treaty, and therefore is born a revolution of governance and society, where two families walk together. And I think that's, I'm getting away. Doug wanted me to relate a little more history, and I don't want to take too much of your time, but that's a message I did want to get out. And I do remember also the level of despair that came over all of us upon the assassination of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and Bobby Kennedy and Malcolm X. It just blasted the progressive movement to pieces. And it was very burdensome to be alive and see this happen, be witnessed, especially after the John F. Kennedy assassination. which we all had. I remember as a young boy, I had a father-like affinity with John F. Kennedy. It was like that, and he wasn't. I don't know, you know. I won't comment on everything, but you know, 9/11 and the Gulf of Tonkin crisis are both lies, and we know that. Absolutely, they're lies. That is paradigmatically changing the social order around the world. And we have an obligation to change that. We are complicit in torture, we're complicit in neocolonial invasions, and no matter if we agree or not, as long as we are in society and existing in a society that is engaged in these type of activities, we are still complicit, all of us. And we have to stop this government from proceeding and doing this. That's our job. And so I was talking to a lady here earlier. You know, it doesn't take much. Walk up and down the street with a sign, 4 blocks. Every day, maybe just 3 blocks, 4 blocks. Keep the message alive. We're here. This is a very good gathering. You are all leaders. You're leaders because you're here. I'm sorry, but you got to take it on your shoulders. You're going to have to lead. Thank you. I don't like this transformation of this I-me society that the Harper regime is imposing upon us, from we us. I remember the very happiest of my years. I came here in 1974, and they were very happy years. They were my happiest Canadian years. And when I heard the ethics, I came here I stayed in the United States until Reagan was elected, and I could no longer take I just could no longer take it anymore. And so in effect, I'm a refugee to Canada, and I came into a very happy time in Canada. It was a cultural revolution, actually, or I should say enlightenment, even including Lester Pearson, but especially Bobby Douglas and Pierre Trudeau, the vision. And that's why we still have a Canadian heritage today. It hasn't been forgotten. They still live. And it's up to us to keep that ethic alive. And we're not just talking partisan politics either. It's the ethic that we're talking about. I think that we all know and believe. And I keep on wanting to stop. I'm sorry for being long-winded, but we're chaotic butterflies. You know, the theory of chaos by Lorenzo has been proven to be a mathematical thing. He's proved that a butterfly can change the course of a hurricane. And so I like to think of myself as a chaotic butterfly, and you too. Don't lose hope. Wave those wings, because we can change this course. We can do it. We can. So I don't know. I'm going to stop because I can rap for a long time. But anyway, I thought of this just coming to town. I was going to do this little routine. So let's raise our hands as torches, and raise your torch for your loved ones. Raise your torch for the one standing beside you. Raise your torch for the victims that have had their families turn into red mist from tyranny. Raise your torch for those who went before us: Dr. Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy, Malcolm X, Bobby Douglas, Pierre Trudeau, and the countless other unknowns who have died in peace. Because, you know, peace making, peace advocating is not a safe journey necessarily, is it? And raise your hands and proclaim to the cosmos that we have no more war, no more war, no more war. Thank you very much.
Love you.